Okay, welcome. Tonight we're going to be looking at word problems that deal with coins. Okay, as we said in the lesson today, you're going to have decimals and you're going to want to clear those decimals. But let's start with the word problem. Okay, we want to make sure we answer the question and ask ourselves which two coins we're using. In the first sentence, we have dimes and quarters, and I know that I have to write a let statement. My let statement is written in blue. Let x equal number of dimes, y equal number of quarters. Now with each one of those, remember in class we said our first equation will deal with the amount and the following equation or the second equation will deal with um, the value. Okay, so amount of coins versus the value of coins. And if we look at, I want to highlight what I'm looking at so you can see what I'm talking about. We use blue. The number of quarters was 10 less than twice the number of dimes. Twice the number of dimes. Quarters was 10 less than that. I have, let's look at our first equation. All right, so here we have 10x or 0.10x representing dimes. We said x was dimes and y is quarters, and I have a total of 650. So I represent my first equation for value, and what I want to do is, because each coin has a different value, I have to put those values in there, 0.10 being dimes and 0.25 being quarters. Then we talked about this in class, multiplying through by 100 so we don't have to deal with the decimals. That's called clearing the decimals. We would do the same thing with clearing fractions if we had fractions. The second equation is what we highlighted here, the number of quarters. Now, quarters we indicated in our let statement was y. So here, this is where this y comes from, right here. Y, the number of quarters, was or is the same thing as equals. 10 less than. Remember those words less than? The 10 has to come after the next piece of information, twice the number of dimes. And we said in our let statement here, x being number of dimes. So here is my second equation. Second equation, first equation that I multiplied through by 100. Now, this is all set up to do substitution. I chose to use the substitution method, and let's look at the completed version of it. So I take what y equals and I plunk it in wherever I see a y. That's my 2x minus 10, and because I have that 25 before those two terms, I have to put it in parentheses, distribute the 25, which then I wind up with 10x plus 50x minus 250 equals 650. Solving for x, I get x equals 15. Here is my next step to find my y. I have to substitute in my 15 wherever I see an x, and I wind up with y equaling 20. Now, what does that mean? Well, I have to go back up into my let statement. X represented dimes, so I have 15 dimes. Y represented quarters, so I have 20 quarters. Well, in order to check that, I have to use the value of a dime, and the value of a dime is 0.10, 0.10, and I have 15. 15 times 0.10 is $1.50, and 20 quarters is $5, and 650 equals 650. Now with these coin problems, your check will involve the value equation, okay? All right, let's move on. I know this seems confusing, but You'll catch on. Okay, so Irene has $4.50 in her coin bank in nickels and dimes. So my let statement will include nickels and dimes. Here's my let statement. Now, if you wanted to say N for nickels and D for dimes, that's perfectly fine as well. So if I were to look at my equation, just like the one we just did, we have $4.50. So this represents the value equation. Nickels is going to represent the value of each X, and dimes will be 0.10y. Okay, I multiplied through by 100 to eliminate my decimals. That brings me here. And now let's look at the second sentence. The second sentence says the number of dimes, and we said dimes was y, is equals twice the number of nickels. Twice the number of nickels. So typically your first sentence holds your first equation, your second sentence holds your second equation. There is my second equation. And because this is all set up for substitution, I chose the substitution method. Substituting in the 2x where I saw y, and I wound up with x being 18. Then I have to find my y, substituting in my value that I found x to be, y equals 36. And you have to understand what your x and y are. So let's go back to our let statement. Our let statement says x is number of nickels. I have 18 nickels, 36 dimes. Substitute it back into your value equation. 18 nickels is 90 cents. 36 dimes is $3.60. Adding the two together give me $4.50. Okay? Why don't you try to set up number 3? Take a moment and come back. Two things that we're comparing are quarters and dimes. Again, my first equation will include my value, quarters, and dimes. Dimes is X, quarters is Y, total value is $5.70. First sentence, first equation. Second sentence, second equation. The number of quarters is 6 more than the number of dimes. There's your second equation. Y equals 6 plus X. This is prime for substitution method. So why don't you finish this one off using the substitution method, and tomorrow when you come in, I will check your notes to see if you've solved for the number of dimes and the number of quarters. And we'll continue working on coin problems in class tomorrow. So if you have any questions, please jot those off on the side of your notes, and we will address those when you get to class. I hope you understand everything. Try to do the rest of this number 3, and if you want to move on, feel free to do that. Have a great night.